Hello, and welcome back. Today we have Playing Through My Sega Genesis Collection, number 11, Joe Montana Football. Developed by Park Place Productions and published by Sega, Joe Montana Football was released in 1991. Unfortunately, they did not gain the licenses from the NFL, so the 16 available teams are generic but loosely based on their NFL counterparts, with the only identifiable player as Joe Montana himself. For example, the 1990 Super Bowl winning Giants can be reflected in the New York team being labeled as top-notch, with a strong defense. Maybe it was a bit personal after San Francisco's trouncing in the 1989 Super Bowl, but Denver was only a fair team, with very little speed.
Welcome to Joe Montana Football.
From the title screen, the player can select from 3 different game types, as some energetic music gets you pumped up for the game. These include Normal, which is just a one-game exhibition against a selectable opponent, 2-Minute Drill, which is essentially a shortened game for practice to get to know each of the team's strengths and weaknesses, and Sega Bowl. Sega Bowl is a series of 4 increasingly difficult playoff games to win the championship against CPU-determined teams. I chose to play Sega Bowl and play as Joe's team, which would have been the 49ers, and took on Houston in the opening game. Prior to kickoff, Joe will provide some insight and tips for taking on the game's opponent to help you strategize your game plan. Joe Montana Football offered a more simplistic take on the rules to better suit a video game. The controls were arcade-like, with limited options that made it easy to pick up and play, but also had some nuanced controls and more complex plays. I won the opening kickoff without realizing how to choose heads or tails, and received the ball. Once in possession of the ball, the player controls are straightforward, with directional movement, the ability to dive, or the ability to truck or stiff arm as the manual states. This has a chance to knock the defender away to break a tackle, but isn't a guarantee. Prior to each play, the player can select from 24 different options. These include both running and passing, with Joe's recommendation highlighted. When dropping back to pass, the primary receiver will show in a small window, with any surrounding defenders. This allows the player to target the direction of the pass to avoid the defenders, while also throwing it with touch or power. Secondary receivers can be viewed to find the open man, playing out more realistic than modern games, as the player goes through the quarterback's progression and can only view one receiver at a time, simulating him looking around the field while in the pocket. Unlike modern games, the entire field ahead is not available. Field goals and extra points are simple enough, with directional controls to steer the kick left or right, and short or deep. After each scoring play, updated stats will be provided for both teams. When kicking off, you do have the option for an onside kick, and tackling consists of a basic dive, which is weaker, but has more range, or a powerful smash, that is short-ranged and can even knock an opponent out of the game. While on defense, there are 24 plays to select from once again, of course, with Joe's recommendation highlighted. The player-controlled defender will be marked and can be swapped at any time. When the ball is thrown, the player can opt to put their arms in the air for a deflection or interception attempt. This same technique can be used on offense for more contested throws. I found it best on offense to utilize this technique while coming back to the ball or in motion to block a defender from getting a good angle on the throw. At this point, I decided that this was taking too long, so I reset, and luckily, you can alter the quarter length of the main menu for faster games, as well as adjust a few other settings. Although there is no difficulty setting, the team's speed and skill definitely depend on the pre-game traits. A top-notch team will be faster, stronger, and a tough opponent, while a fair team will be slow, weak, and run poor routes. When rushing a field goal attempt, the block is a dangerous weapon, as there is no 2-point conversion for the opponent to make up the points. This can also be detrimental to the player if they have a weak kicker and miss the extra point. Overall, gameplay was intuitive and responsive, with easy enough controls, but with variety to keep things fresh. However, the CPU did not always play strategically or with any sense of urgency. For example, down late in the game, they ran the ball and let the clock run out. Another available option is the ability to turn penalties off, which are not much of a factor other than offsides, which can piss the referee off. Making a great play will prompt a compliment from the original GOAT and make you feel like a real winner. In Sega Bowl, the teams get progressively better, with the ultimate opponent extremely difficult to conquer. Unfortunately, I found myself unable to get past New York, even when playing as San Francisco. So I played again, this time as New York myself, and still couldn't win, not able to get past San Francisco. I don't know if it was programmed in, but the championship game felt completely rigged, and oftentimes unfair. I found myself fumbling straight into the opponent's hand, getting wrecked at the line, and dropping passes, things that rarely occurred in the previous 3 playoff games combined. The room for error is essentially zero, but not impossible. The opponent will push you to your limits and force you to think fast, with tight coverage, a blazing pass rush, and relentless pursuit of the run. With that said, here are some of the highlights and lowlights from my Sega Bowl runs, finally emerging victorious on the 4th attempt.
Get him next time. Get him next time. Get him next time. That
Overall, Joe Montana Football was a really fun game that was impressive for the time and still holds up well today. I do have nostalgia for this, as I grew up playing it, and still find myself going back to it from time to time for some quick games to unwind and relax. In my opinion, this is one of the best football games on the Genesis, and I recommend giving it a try, especially if you prefer old school football games and want an alternative to the disaster that is the modern Madden games. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for playing through my Sega Genesis collection, number 12.
Great game.